Welcome to Fat Cat production of news with a view. Today is July 8th, Tuesday. This is episode 99. This is going to be a bit of a drawn out show. Normally what I do is I don't do that. I do a script and then I go off of from there. But today we're going to do a little bit different. I'm just looking at my thing over my YouTube, make sure this is going up and running, and we're happy. We're happy. I got my coffee to get me through. Today we have the judge recommends rejection to dismiss a case against the Milwaukee Judge. Remember that judge who did something bad. The Rolling Stone reported that the Trump administration braces for a MAGA revolt over Epstein's memo, or lack of. This is a bad one. 10 arrested after ambush on Texas ICE detention was foiled. Some wealthy New York elitists back New York socialist candidate who wants to tax them more. Okay? And the fifth one, which is going to be a long one, but probably one of the best articles I've seen on just what's going on with the birthrights and some of the problems that are attached to it. It's a very well written article, and I didn't find too much that I disagreed with, and it just was just some of the wording, but and it's from Condé Nast Travelers. And I highlighted some things to talk about from that article. But if you can read it, go ahead and read it. It breaks it down in probably the simplest terms I've seen. So, again, this is News with a View, hosted by me, John Acosta. And I was fiddling around here trying to get everything working. And in an attempt to do that, I corrupted my files going out to the internet of how it reaches and what magic takes place between the internet and like YouTube and Facebook. And somehow I screwed that up pretty bad. And it took me a while to go back in there and make the world flat again. Okay. I'm going to put in the recorded show, which will come out later today. Right up over here will be the playlist with times in it, so you can just skip over stuff and go back and forth, or take the whole hour and just enjoy what I'm trying to present to you, where you can use your common sense to make a conclusion on what is being reported. And remember, my common sense does not have to be your common sense, and vice versa. We just have to keep it civil. And I did go through some reading, because we are going to be talking about the 14th Amendment. Okay, so a federal judge, a magistrate in Wisconsin, has said the case should not be dismissed against Judge Hannah Dugan who was arrested in April and charged in 2 counts of federal indictment alleging she knowingly concealed a person sought for arrest by immigration authorities and for the obstruction of an official Department of Homeland Security removal proceedings. Now, this will go to an appeals again, because the lawyers for Judge Dugan contends that the court's decision in President Donald Trump's immunity case, she should have the judicial immunity for officials' acts, and that her prosecution is unconstitutional. Well, that's a little bit stretch of it there, boys, because really, if that's the case, then the only other recourse is to impeach her through their houses, and then strip her of that immunity, and the Senate of Wisconsin would then go forward. But since it's a federal case, it don't work that way. She's going to be in for a surprise, and she's going to be spending some time in jail. And that's just the way it is, folks. I'm bringing this microphone. I always forget to do that, and then I hear it, and I go, why do I seem so distant? All right. The next point of discussion. And what do you guys think about the judge helping a person evade another court? Because that's really what was going to happen. Or another federal authority. And she got in trouble because of all the crazy rhetoric that is going around out there by the Democrats. And it's crazy rhetoric, folks. Crazy and dangerous. Crazy and dangerous. It should be, you can protest legally. And you do have freedom of speech, but up to a point. Up to a point do you have legal protection. So, in an article in the Rolling Stone, they're going to be so mad. Trump administration braces for MAGA revolt over Epstein's memo, or lack of. I could be considered MAGA. I could be considered an uber Republican, though I really am not an uber Republican. Because I believe in this more than I believe in the party. So, just so you know, that's called a federalist. But this article, of course, was just fake news, because everyone listed in there saying this was going to, they were all worried about this, are unnamed sources. They didn't produce the memo. Do you really think that people are going to care if the memo surfaces or not? Anything to do with Epstein has been rifled through and gone the day that he was released back into freedom. And I'm a believer he's not dead. it just, too many things have, just out of place. Just doesn't make sense. But if did you really think that there was going to be a secret letter in there unopened, and they were going to open it and go, oh, look, the secret letter, the list, that whatever books they have and whatever things they have, you got to realize that Maxwell is still out there, and they can't release this stuff. There's appeal processes going on with her. This was just stuff that the Republicans put on a plate, and some people ate it. Like the Democrats throw junk on their plate, and they eat it. Well, the Republicans do that too. How many shows did Fox News get to do on this? On Epstein, on everything else? How many hours did Maddow speak? I mean, all of them, the full spectrum. This is what feeds them. And I was surprised that, that Bundy and talked about, she has the list, and then she didn't have the list. I don't really care. None of that affects my government. None of that affects my rights or your rights. It's just, dirty laundry, as the song goes. And, people like dirty laundry. And they wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear who was on. You've already heard. You already know who's been, of anyone importance, has been on that island. And it's old news. It's garbage news. Epstein was an asset, but that asset was for sale to anyone. If you knew who Red Reddington was, the TV show, that was Epstein. A guy a procurer. He could get people together that normally would not want to be seen together. And he knew who to connect and how to connect people, and was a third channel. And he was an asset for the CIA. He was an asset for the KGB. He was an asset for the Chinese, the Indians, everyone. He didn't care where his money and influence was coming from. He was there just to put people together. Whatever those people did, I had nothing to do with. And he had lavish parties. It just amazes me what people will dwell on with this. But, this is just more garbage for the left to eat up. Just more garbage. They'll go, see, she lied, and she's lying about everything, and you can't trust her. What happened to the Kennedy files? You know what I'd really be more interested in finding out? UFOs. This stuff, you know, this was, I smell sex and candy here. That's what this guy was all about. I want something that would affect me and everyone. It doesn't affect me and everyone. And when I say me, I'm part of everyone. That really, doesn't, it's not going to make my radar. All right. The next interesting tidbit that was in the news, and I'm sure we'll get back to more of the non-memo, but former Biden doctor asked to delay testimony to House committee investigating mental fitness of course, Joe Biden. And he had said, hey, I'd love to talk to you guys, but I have a legal and ethical obligation that must be satisfied, and for which violations carry serious consequences to him professionally and personally. So, HIPAA laws, you just can't go in there and say, hey, I'm going to, report this, and I can tell you that. I don't know how they can force that out of you anyway. I'm sure they can through subpoenas, and you'd have to then go through your lawyers and things like that to make sure that, you don't get jammed up as a doctor. Now, the committee said, hey, we welcome the objection of the doctor. We welcome that. We understand it. And he can always object to a question and not answer it. Now that's really walking on eggshells. And I, in this case, would agree with the doctor unless there's some letter somewhere that says, the president had given his permission that all his medical report be made public. Now, if that's the case, well, I got that piece of paper. You are admonished from any activity, and, let's go. But that letter might only be enforced when he was the president, not afterwards. So there's always a question, and I feel that the doctor is correct in going, I need guidance. I need guidance and understanding with this. Because I certainly want to answer your questions, but I don't want to be sued. I don't want to be my license taken away from me. I don't want to end up in jail. So I want to make sure everything is correct. And when I know that, then I will gladly answer your questions. Now, if you force me in there, I will just not answer the question. I'll take the fifth on everything. And you can make a conclusion from there. But I'm not going to say anything that gets me into trouble, and this is why, and I'd have the attorney explain that. I wouldn't. And that's why I'm going to advise my attorney, my client, just to plead the fifth on every question you ask him. So, ask your question, and he's just going to give you the fifth. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to put him through that, if you don't want to go through that dance, then, we have to wait. And if we wait, you might get your answer. How about that? How about how that works, right? Isn't that wonderful when it all works out that way and you can do that? So, we know you want to get Joe Biden, you want to be able to say, see, we were correct. He was not fit for office. Okay. But I think that in your quest to make that, which we all know already, this is just finding out who knew so we can go deeper and deeper and deeper and get these people on a stand. And you did a dereliction of duty and stuff. And I know what they're doing here. But you can't jam this guy out. And that's just my 2 cents, folks. And I told you, I'm not locked in step with anyone. Common sense, our Constitution, our rights, and our laws. If you can hit those marks, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And, using your rights, having those rights, very important. Very, very important. All right. This is an article. It's on the internet. You can find it. Everyone's doing it. 10 arrested after ambush on Texas ICE detention facility. Well, they didn't actually attack it. It was planned. State and federal officials announced on Monday that 10 people were arrested for conspiracy, it's really conspiracy, in a planned ambush of an ICE detention facility in Texas over the 4th of July. These 10 individuals were charged with attempted murder of a federal officer, according to court records. This happened in a Prairie Land detention facility in Alvarado, Texas, on 4th of July. According to U.S. Attorney for Northern District of Texas, Nancy Larson. Now, who planned this? How was it funded? I mean, was it just a group of people that got together, that always hung out together? Was it a gang? Who are these people? Were they organized? These are things that we need to find out. And I would look at these people as anarchists, and these just aren't regular criminals here. I'll tell you why. Representative Jayapal from Washington, Democrat, said in an interview that she is most inspired when she sees people obstructing ICE. This is from a United States representative. Some of the most inspiring things have been when people encircle courtrooms and refuse to allow ICE agents in. She said during a conversation with Joy Reid on Friday's episode of The Joy Reid Show that she likes when ICE is confronted and encircled and prevented. Tie that into the story above. You know what that is, folks? That's insurrection. You wanted to know what insurrection was? What Representative Jayapal is talking about and allowing and getting people to do. Getting people to do this is insurrection. Who was it? Was it Jimmy Kimmel when they were burning Teslas? Went out there and he goes, I hope you don't go out and burn any Teslas. I'd hate to have that happen, right? And you knew damn well what he was doing. He was baiting his audience, his followers. She's doing the same thing. She's doing the same thing. She should be removed from office. And her freedom of speech to say that is one thing. Her freedom to incite, that's another thing. Again, Democrats are against democracy. All right? So that really has me ticked off. That is something I'm going to follow. She's on my follow and watch list. I got about 4 of them that I just, anything they do, anything they say, I listen to, I watch, I record. So I have the facts. Her, Schumer, Schiff, and one other I shall keep nameless. That they're flagged. Anytime they come up in the news, boom, I get a notification, boom, I can go watch C-SPAN, I can watch what these people are saying. Because you can't, or you won't, or you don't know how, or you feel it doesn't affect you. I look at it, if it's going to affect our democracy, I'm going to say something. And I don't care if it's Trump. I didn't care if it was Biden. I didn't care if it was Bush. You got called out on it. All right. Now we go into the state level here. New York City. Mamdini. Some wealthy New York elites surprisingly backed New York City's socialist candidate who wants to tax them more. James Houston, a 27-year-old venture capitalist, is part of a group called the Mamdini Millionaires in a Wall Street Journal piece published on Monday. So you can go to Wall Street Journal and read all about this. he said, and he goes, "In me, this is me. I should absolutely be paying my fair share for the people that need it. I don't think that he increasing taxation for the sake of it. I think he's doing it to fund very explicitly good policies." All right? You feel that you should be taxed more to help these wonderful, wonderful programs. Okay. Mr. Houston, why aren't you giving that money today? Or have you? Have you been given, if you're paying taxes, and I'm sure you have an accountant who gives you every tax break there is. Every tax break that you're entitled to. Let me clear that up. Why not just say, don't give me the tax break? Let me just pay my 37% or 26% or 12%, whatever it is. Forget knocking that down. I made $5 million this year, and the state got their $1 million, and the city should get their $500,000 from me, and the feds should get their 1.5 million. So your money, got cut literally in half, but you gave it to, here it is. No deductions, no nothing. I'll pay my fair share. Well, you don't have to wait for the tax code to change, sir. You can give that money right now to organizations that Mamdini is supporting. Just walk in there today and give them the money. Furthermore, if those are 501(c)s or charitable organizations or whatever, hey, you can deduct it. And whatever you save from that, hand over to them. Or don't take the deduction. And consider it a bonus into the bigger pot. How about that? Just give it away. Give your money away tomorrow. Give it to a program that you think is wonderful to help these people. I bet it never happens. And the Mandini millionaires, I don't know. I just think, again, James Houston, venture capitalist, I'm going to throw the bullshit card down. Because you could do this right now. You don't have to wait. You do not have to wait for him to be elected to start helping people. And maybe you are. Maybe you are giving money away right now. But I'm sure this article would have said it. So, boo on you, sir. Boo, boo on you. You ain't fooling nobody. And Mandini, you lied. And again, yesterday I said, it's not a big lie. You try to take advantage of a system. You try to get something that wasn't meant for you. Mm-mm-mm. And you tried. At least Pocahontas could say, this is the story my mom had told me. And, I always believed it. At least I can give her that much credit. Where she absolutely believed in what she believed in. And when she took the test, it didn't pan out. But even that, when she did the DNA and stuff, remember that only goes by how many of people in her alleged tribe put their blood into it. So, I never condemned her for that. Because she believed what her mom had told her. And my mom had told us some stories, and, we look back and we go, oh my God. But even back then, I didn't even tell my friends. I mean, my mother, oh, we have Blackfoot Indian blood. And I go, well, I'm not telling anyone that. Why couldn't we be the Apache or, a Cherokee or even an Algonquin? I don't want to be known as a Blackfoot. What did I know? I just said, oh yeah, that's interesting, Mom, and the little cuckoo, 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 going into my head. So, we laugh. All right. Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship. And what that means for traveling. This is a Condé Nast Traveler article. It probably is the best article to read on exactly what all this means, but in a very light version, but accurate. What they're reporting is accurate. And they don't disagree with it. They don't agree with it. Boom, boom. It's really a very plain and simple. Now, deeper down in there, there's people that are, talking, this is why it's wrong, this is why it's right. But they kept it pretty. This was good journalism. This was good journalism. So, what does the Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship mean? And I've said this before. The Supreme Court decision did not overturn birthright citizenship, nor rule on its constitutionality. They never said anything about it. Instead, the justices ruled to limit nationwide injunctions issued by lower courts, which were legal maneuvers that until the court stepped in, the Supreme Court stepped in, had prevented executive orders from moving forward. So that's really all it did. When will the executive orders go into effect? Well, July 27th, because they gave it a 30-day window. So what they're saying is after the 27th of July, Trump's order can go forward. With the exception um, they have to apply within those times for protection status. And not protection status in that sense, but a class action lawsuit. Now, a class action lawsuit does not stop it. It goes until ruled against. All right, so it really just addresses the constitutional birthright citizen. It did clear a path for the executive order to be applied. So the executive order can go after the 27th. And again, when I was speaking about all this, I wanted to know when does the clock start for people? Very important. Does it start January 22nd or January 20th when he wrote the order? Does it go back? Give me a timeline here. I need a timeline because that's very, very important. So, which states have challenged the decision to end birthright citizenship? And there's 22 states, including the District of Columbia. And those states, I'll give it to you: Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. Except for a few in there. They're all blue states. So, the other 28 states have not challenged the order, meaning they have not filed a court challenge. And it doesn't mean that these states are like, well, we agree with Trump. Or to say we disagree with Trump. Most of them are taking a back seat and letting these other states use their resources to fight this. They might be just sitting back going, well, listen, I don't know which way this is going to go. And do we want to join in on this? Or do we want to fight it? Now, it's interesting because you need, if they were going to make any type of amendment change to the 14th, let's say the Supreme Court goes, yes, Donald Trump is absolutely correct. The 14th Amendment birthright was for freed slaves and their children before all this happened. So anyone that was a slave here, their children. So these people had citizen rights, automatically. It's not a problem. It's the freed slaves and their children afterwards. So we want to clear that up. Let's say they go take that route and then argue that the people that come over here to have children from other countries that are not here for immigration, their sovereignty goes back to whatever country they have. We don't have sovereignty over them. You won't get the 14th Amendment birthright protection. You might get other protections in the Constitution, but that's not one that you get. So I think that's how this is going to go. Personally, Trump's going to take a big win here. So, it will go into effect on or after the 27th of July, which could lead to a patchwork approach to how birthright citizenship is applied in the USA. All right. What are some of the problems if birthright citizenship ends? So, under the executive order, children born after July 27th, 2025, to undocumented or temporary status parents could lose automatic citizenship unless covered by an injunction or a successful class action. This would even extend to children of visa holders in the U.S. with lawful but non-immigrant status. Remember, like I said, you weren't here for the purpose of immigration. You were on vacation, you were working, you were a student. You have a whole bunch of reasons why you have no birthright connection here. This could potentially result in babies being deported. Even though their parents could remain legally in the country, these are lawyer talks, and that would not be the case. I would tell you exactly what the case would be, is that, yes, the parent has temporary protection status. The children are not U.S. citizens. They're not covered by Medicaid, Medicare, boom, boom. You're going to have to take policies out on these kids to get them health care. Now, in the one big beautiful bill, there is language in there that kind of tweaks around that a bit. I mean, it's so complicated, and you need lawyers that are not only health insurance type lawyers, but also tie it into the Constitution. What a time to be alive. So you might have some issues with some of these. Now, in most cases, if it came down to them saying, well, the baby has to go, and you have every right to go with the baby, I personally don't think that will happen. But you can't. It creates a potential stateless people. Stateless people. And that gives a lot of legal and social problems that come on with that. So a stateless child is not recognized as a national by laws of any nation due to being born in a country that doesn't grant birthright citizenship, having parents who are not citizens of any nation, or because their status was stripped due to ethnic or religious reasons. No one is being stripped because of their ethnic or religious reasons. This means they don't have the legal right and protections afforded citizens of such countries. The UN states there's at least 4.1 million people who are currently stateless around the world. Might be adding to that number, sir. But again, they're not stateless if the parents are not citizens here, who then can be deported back to their country of origin, where their children would then become Guatemalan, Haitian, El Salvadorians, Venezuelans, Chinese, Mexicans. So the parents have a choice. They came here undocumented. They came here under temporary status. You got to go back. Temporary's gone. We took that away from you, so you're here illegally from this date. And then you take your whole little family and go off back to wherever you came from. That's the answer. So, but personally thinking, I see them, if they were on a visa, if they were on something, that they stay here as a temporary, some type of temporary status for the parents, but they're not citizens. It's absolutely classified. These children are not citizens, but the parents are here on a visa. And as such, the child can stay. Now, again, you have to get health care and blah, 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 but they can stay. But couldn't stay here permanently. If the parents are on a visa and that child turns 18, they can apply for citizenship. If not, they got to go. So that is a huge burden. And of course, it means that children here are not eligible for a U.S. passport. So they couldn't leave the country and then get back in. Couldn't happen. And without a U.S. passport, they might not be able to go, to another country. They might not, go, hey, we don't want the same problem that they're having. So now, what do you do with them? So, and they said, and this is what I wanted to make sure the children born before July 27th keep their citizenship. And he added, would be wise to have additional proof of citizenship. So, I said, anyone born, and this was one of the things, who are you doing this to? How are you applying it? So, the problem with doing this and getting a passport for the child, trying to get under the guide wire. What if they say, yes, we'll give you a passport. It expires in 6 months. So, or it expires in whatever, and you have to come and get it stamped, and then we extend it. Or, we go 6 months, you got to come back, we'll give you another one. That could be the answer until it's resolved. But it is a very, very complicated, and there's so many other circumstances in here that the article did not pick up on. But as far as pointing out the actual steps and processes. And okay, the president wins it. What does it mean? What could it mean? How far can it go? It was an excellent, excellent article. Condé Nast, birthright citizenship, explanation, excellent. If you have questions on it, go to it, look it. It's a big article, a lot of reading, and like I said, further down it tells all the pitfalls and oh my God, this could happen, and could it happen? We don't know. Maybe. So there's still, as I call it, a lot of wet cement out there. It's cement, but it's wet. So you can't use it. We don't know, but it is cement. My basic feeling is that this will get settled. Trump will win his argument. And if these people lose their temporary status, they are no longer citizens, and neither are their children. So that's why a lot of these people are saying, well, they're hurrying to get the passport. They might not be able to get a passport. They might say, hey, well, put that in a pile over here. We don't have to do this. We can do it in a day if necessary, but we don't have to. We're allowed to look at it and examine it, and if after 30 days, 90 days, then we might make a decision on it. But you can get a passport, an American citizen, in one day if needed. It'd be hard. You'd have to have a real hardship case, and it could be done. So, all right. Today is Tuesday. That's poker night. So more than likely I will not be doing a show this evening, but you never know if stuff crops up, and I'll be more than half awake. I might do a half hour, 1 hour show on live. Don't know. Again, this show is a conservative leaning vlog. But like I said, I take both sides of an argument. I'll look at it and go, no, that doesn't make sense. And yes, you could scream all you want over here, and it doesn't make sense. And the left can scream all they want. I could go, it doesn't make sense. Common sense will rule the day. But that common sense gets tied into our laws, into our federal constitution, and then our state constitution. And in another life, I would have loved to have been a lawyer. It would have, I think I would have enjoyed, it. The only thing I say with lawyers is that they always have to be emotionally unattached to whatever they're doing. They can't let their emotions affect what they're doing. And as that judge, in Milwaukee did, she allowed her emotions to outweigh her sensibility of the law. You can't do that. You can't do that. And it seems, and that's why I always joke when I did work with lawyers who said, yeah, you might have made a decent lawyer. And, I always kidded with them. I said, no, I have a soul. Can't do it. And, they said, and then I had really good lawyers from CBS and some other firms that turned around and said, hey, I just want to tell you, I felt your pain in there, and I understood where you were going. And yes, on a purely emotional stand, I'd be for your guy. If I was sitting over here, but these cases don't go that way, and I just go by what the contract says and what your contract says and management's rights. But I feel bad for the guy. I would have liked to have gone the other way. And I've even had lawyers sitting across from me say, hey, we'll go in and ask them, could they show this guy mercy? And then we'll work out a punishment. And sometimes they did. Sometimes they came back in and go, all right, you got a minute to convince me. All right, boom, boom, the guy, he screwed up. He did this, he did this, he did this. But look back over his whole time with you guys, he was a pretty good player. He did all right. He was a good worker. He had a little problem over here and got jammed up. Give him 2 weeks suspension. And it was, 2 weeks, we were going to fire the guy. I go, yeah, but now you got to retrain someone? I mean, I realize. And I go, I can go to this guy right now and have him accept that. No firing. Put a letter in his thing. If this happens again, it's a last and final. We won't arbitrate. This is it. He's out the door. You don't have to hear me pleading and coming in here for week after week and it costing us money in the American Arbitration Association, AAA. 2 weeks. Sends a message to him. Sends a message to everyone around him too. Hey, don't do that. I'll give you 2 weeks. And they come back. No, we want 5 weeks. And, I go, hey, 5 weeks, that's, you just burned this guy, 10% of his salary, I think 2 weeks was more, for what he did, and you settle on 3. And they go, you either have him settle on 3. If you walk back into the store, he's gone for good. And I go, understood? Respect. Go out there and tell him, hey, figure out what you're going to do for the next 3 weeks. You walk in that office, you sit down with them, say, I agreed to this, you're going to sign this, we're going to sign this. And you thank them and you apologize. And not just for what you did, but putting everyone into this situation. Acknowledge the situation. Acknowledge the act. acknowledge the situation. That's what makes people good. All right, with that, I'm going to say later, give to a charity. Make sure that is a bona fide charity. Don't become a victim helping a victim. You reach out to them. Don't have them reach out to you. Charity begins at home. I get it. If you're not comfortable with doing that, 4, 5, 6 cans of food to a food bank every week. You're going shopping. Oh, they got, 5 for $1, or, 5 and, a BOGO, buy one, get one free. Boom, boom. Gonna buy 5 of them. I get 5 and I give those 5 to someone else. How wonderful is that? And you think, well, it's 5 cans of food, what the hell, And you go, but to someone who doesn't have 5 cans of food, that's everything. And it could be SpaghettiOs, it could be Vienna sausages, it could be canned meat. We give a lot of those canned hams, where we actually ate them. I said, before I start giving this to people, is it edible? They were delicious. Those little $3.99 canned hams. You can cut that off, mashed potatoes, corn, and if they have a biscuit or they have something, you have a dinner. You have a dinner for 4 people. And what did it cost you? $6. And you help the family. You help someone. And with no judgment. No judgment. I don't know what the story is with these people that they're giving food to. Don't know. Don't care. Here it is. I'm helping. Do that with old clothes, wearable clothes, not, if it's falling apart, give it to the rag man. But if you have, like I have 10 suits in the closet. 7 of them I'm donating to Veterans Welcome Home Center, the Goodwill. And these aren't cheap suits. I didn't wear cheap suits. And I'm keeping 3 of them. And I told my wife that you can lay me out in them. I need one for a wedding, one for, a church, and then one to bury me in. No, I don't want to be buried. But whatever. So, give to a charity. Say a prayer. Prayer works. It's a wonderful thing. Keep in touch with people. Stay close. Families argue. We all have arguments with family members. Take a deep breath. Every night, ask for forgiveness and forgive others. Very important. Very, very important. Just so you know, in my belief, you can't move forward until you have forgiven back. Can't move forward. So, and with that, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to get out of here. And I got, oh my God, my record failed on my, I wonder when it died. But the good thing is, I can take it off my live feed and download it down, and I'll edit it. Yikes, and I think I know what it is. I think I put the wrong disc in there and I ran out of room. I was looking at it, I was playing around, doing stuff. Bad me. All right, everyone, you have a good one. I'm going to come back up with this slide, auto into it, then I'm going to go to black.